I'm discussing 1 Minute After You Die by Erwin W. Lutzer. He begins with those who find themselves in heaven will be surrounded with friends whom they've known on earth. Friendships, once rudely interrupted by death, will continue where they left off. Every description of heaven they ever heard will pale in the light of reality. All this forever. Others, indeed many others, will be shrouded in darkness, a region of deprivation and unending regret. There, with their memories and feelings fully intact, images of their life on earth will return to haunt them. They will think back to their friends, family, and relatives. They will brood over opportunities that they squandered and intuitively know that their future is both hopeless and unending. For them, death will be far worse than they imagined. What does the Old Testament mean by Sheol? First, there's a clear distinction between the grave where the body rests and Sheol where the spirits of the dead gather. Sheol is not impersonal, it's a place of activity. Second, Sheol is often spoken of as a shadowy place of darkness, a place that's not part of this existence. Third, after death, one can be united with his ancestors in Sheol. Those that entered this region did not have the same experience. For some, it was a region of gloom. For others, it was a place where they would dwell with God. Fourth, there are hints in the Old Testament that Sheol has different regions. Both the wicked and the righteous are said to go to Sheol. Another term for Sheol that more of us are familiar with is Hades. These are one and the same. Our descent into Hades is explained this way for the descent into gloom. First, the man in Hades was fully conscious immediately after death. In Hades, an alcoholic will thirst for a drop of liquor, but none will be given to him. The drug addict will crave a shot of heroin, but will not receive it. The immoral man will burn with sexual desire but never be satisfied. Perpetual burning lusts never subside, and the tortured conscience aches but is never sedated. There will be increased desire with decreased satisfaction. Second, the eternal destiny of this man was irrevocably fixed. Third, this man knew himself well enough to know that what he was experiencing was fair and just. Fourth, let us not forget that the rich man of Luke 16 was not yet in hell, but in Hades. What about the believer Lazarus? He was in the region of Sheol or Hades, which is called here Abraham's bosom. But after the ascension of Christ, believers are said to go directly into heaven. In other words, the two regions of Hades no longer exist side by side. Abraham's bosom is in heaven today. Hades, as far as we know now, has only one region, and that is where unbelievers enter. Hades then is still an abode for departed spirits, a temporary intermediate state where those who have not received God's forgiveness must wait until further notice. When they hear their names called, the news that awaits them will not be encouraging. So far, we've learned that death has two faces. To the unbeliever, the very thought of death is terrifying, or at least it should be. But for those who have made their peace with God, death is a blessing. Death is a means of redemption, a doorway into a blissful eternity. Death breaks the ties on earth, but renews them in heaven. There will be no marriage, but your mother will still be known as your mother in heaven. Your son or daughter will still be known as a member of your earthly family. Personal feelings continue in heaven. Personal activities also continue in heaven. A child in heaven will be complete. Heaven is not a place for second-class citizens. All handicaps are removed. Heaven is a place of perfection. In heaven, there will be uninterrupted joy and emotional tranquility. God will blank out a part of your memory. The child will not know that his parents are lost in hell. The mother will not remember that she had a son. In heaven, we shall be comforted, not because we know less than we did on earth, but because we know more. While your family tends to your funeral, you are beholding the face of Christ. Though your family weeps for your departure, you will not return to earth, even if the choice were given to you. Having seen heaven, you will find that earth has lost all of its attraction. As Tony Evans says, have a good time at my funeral because I'm not going to be there. Hades, on the other hand, is a prelude to the final place of eternal punishment. The characteristics of hell are that after judgment, Hades is thrown into the lake of fire. There's also another kind of fire that will be in hell, a fire that may be far worse than our literal fire. It's a raw soul joined to an indestructible body, exposed to its own sin for eternity. Hell is a place for unquenchable, raging guilt without painkillers or sedation. Literal fire might be welcomed if only it would cleanse the tormented conscience. Neither the devil nor his angels will torment people in hell. Satan and his demons will be among those tormented. They will not be tormentors. Revelation 20:10. Entering hell is easy enough. All that one must do is neglect Christ, the only one who can save us. Suicide's never an honorable way out of difficulty. Whatever our need is, God has given us the resources to cope with the difficulties of life. It is presumptuous to commit suicide on the premise that all will be well on the other side. We forget that we are accountable to Christ for the way we lived and died on earth. It simply makes no sense to see Christ before he has called our name. Christ is our best example of how to face that final hour that most assuredly will come to us all. He died so that we could die triumphantly. We do not know who will be next to hear the divine call, but let us all be ready when it comes.